Welcome, Ryan here from Fiscal Finance, and today we're going to go through advanced purchases. So there's two ways that we can get to that screen. We can click the plus icon at the top here, and under purchases, select advanced purchase, or we can go into the purchase module on the left and under new, select advanced purchase. So an advanced purchase is slightly different from a simple purchase in that it'll be one purchase order that has multiple invoices attached to it, whereas the simple one is one PO and one invoice. So let's get into it. So we need to include our supplier details. So we're going to buy some products from Ryan's Hop Farms. We have a 60-day period, a 60-day term with him. It's auto-filled in all of these details required by, so when do we need this stock? We'll forward date it to next week, Friday. Today's date is the purchase order date, and the inventory account will just keep as inventory account because we are purchasing inventory. Okay, the location is main warehouse, the tax rule is on auto lookup, it defaults to the global settings, and the shipping address is the main warehouse shipping address. Okay, so now we are going to create a new purchase order. I'm going to get rid of these line items and then just select the plus button over here. If you wanted to purchase from a family of products, you could select the family icon over here, and then you would select the family products over here, or the family, and then the price that you usually buy, or if you leave that 0, it will be the last purchased price from that supplier. But I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to select the plus button here. It already populated with a 10% discount that Ryan's Hop Farms have already given me across the board. So let us buy some Citra hops. Okay, so we're going to get Citra hops in 100 grams. We're going to add more items. We're going to get some Cascade hops. Let's see, some Cascade hops, 100 grams. We're going to get some Magnum hops. Okay, let's see, we can get some Magnum hops 100. Okay, cool. So now we can choose the quantity of hops that we want, and you'll see that the purchase prices, some of them have auto-populated, and that is because that is the last purchase price that we received from Ryan's Hop Farm for the 100-gram Citra sachets. So if I populate here, I need 20 bags of Citra, I need maybe 30 bags of Cascade, and I need maybe 50 bags of Magnum. Okay, now remember, if I go up and save this, it is still a draft purchase order. Nothing has been created, nothing has been gone until I authorize it. So you can see it's still a draft purchase order. At the top here, it says that it's ordering in process. It means that this is in process, but the purchase order is at draft stage now. So let's authorize that. Okay, so now the purchase order has been authorized. If, for example, they wanted to charge me shipping, I could go ahead and include some shipping over here, but I'm not going to do that for today. And so now that we have the authorized purchase order, we can now go into invoicing and receiving. But I just want to show you what it looks like in the purchases section. And so now you can see here that the purchase order has been authorized because it is green. The bill has not been billed yet. It is orange. It's in process, and the stock has not been received. It is also in process. So if we go into this purchase order, we can see all of the details that we already have, and now we can go into invoicing and receiving. And so at the bottom over here, you'll see draft invoice, and if I select at the top, I select here add stock receiving, and now it has changed to stock receiving. I can bounce between those two pages over here, so invoice and stock receiving. So let's say I received the stock first, and now I can copy from order. So now it populates with my entire purchase order, but let's say he was only able to give a partial delivery Ryan's Hop Farms was only able to deliver half of the product or partial products. So he was only able to deliver 10 Citra 100 grams. He was only able to deliver 10 Cascade hops, and in fact, he wasn't even able to deliver this at all. So now you might think to make that 0 and save this, but Cin7 will not recognize this. So if I try to authorize that, it will give me an issue. So I'm going to remove that line item. Okay, so now we can authorize the stock received, and you will now see that it has been authorized. So the stock received has been authorized. It has now turned green, and now we can go into our invoice and generate an invoice. Now this is a draft invoice. Let's write here IMV0080. So that's our invoice number. And we can copy remaining from order or copy from receiving. And so let's go copy from receiving, and that will auto-populate with the quantities that were received so that we can now create an invoice for this on Cin7. If there were any additional costs like shipping, for example, then I could put that over here. So if we go ahead and we save this, it's still only a draft. It has not been authorized. Now we can go ahead and we can authorize it, and it has now been an authorized invoice. Okay, so now we have an authorized invoice, we have an authorized stock receiving. Now let's say we pay for it. You can see there's no payments. Over here, we would need to say that we pay for it. So at the bottom of this screen, we would include a payment. We would say where the payment was coming from. So let's say it was a bank transfer. We are going to reference the invoice. I think it was INV0080. Let's double check that, INV0080. Scroll back down to the bottom of the screen. The date paid. We paid that today, and the amount that we paid this invoice in full. So we're going to say $198. And behind my face, unfortunately, you won't be able to see this, but behind my face it says balance due USD $0. Okay, now we can go ahead and we can save this. And a payment has been registered, and so now we still have outstanding. We still have an outstanding stock to receive, and so we can click invoice receiving. But now let's say a couple of weeks have passed, or sorry, a week has passed, and I go back into. I finally get the stock, but you can see here that I have paid the invoice that we have had. But I need to now receive the remaining stock. So I go back into the purchase order. I can say invoice and receiving. I go to add stock receiving, and over here I can say copy from invoice or copy from order. There is currently no invoice to copy stock from, so I'm going to say copy from order, and this will be the remaining amount. It auto populates with the remaining amount of the stock that we need to receive from the purchase order. And so now I can say authorize. If there was shipping or anything, any extra costs that would come up in the invoice, so we go to new invoice. Again, this is a draft invoice. We'll write here INV0081. If this was 0080, we would get an error because we cannot have two invoices with the same number. They are for the same purchase order, but they're different invoices. The invoice date is going to be today. The due date for us to pay is only on the 21st of April, and that's because we have a 60-day period term with them. So let's say we copy remaining from order or copy from receiving. Let's copy from receiving, and it auto populates with the product that we have received. Okay, and so now we can go through, if there were shipping costs, we can go into additional costs over here, but we only owe him $288. Okay, so let us save this. You don't have to save before you authorize, but it is good practice. And so now we have the draft invoice that has been saved. Now let's authorize this invoice. Okay, so now we can see that the invoice and receiving, number one, is still the same as before, INV0080, and it is $198, and we received the stock on the 20th of February. And invoicing and receiving number 2 is invoice INV0081. And there is a value attached to that, and the stock receipt was on the 20th of February. But you can see that I haven't paid for it. So let's go ahead. Let's pay for that invoice. So we'll say payment. Where did it come from? It's bank transfer, INV0081. I see that I put a dash in the top one over there, so we'll put a dash in this one. The date that was paid, we paid it today, and the amount that was paid is $288. And behind my face, you will see a balance due value of 0 once we've put in the $288 over here. And so now we can go ahead. You can see that a payment was created over here. We can save this. It's been fully billed, and now it has been completed. So now if we go into our purchases, you will see that this has been completed in entirety, and you can see that the document attached was INV0080, INV-0081, so I made a bit of a mistake there. But yeah, this is 2 invoices that is attached to 1 purchase order, and that is advanced purchases.